Alright guys, we're doing final prep here for the start of Season 3 of Way Upland. I haven't really told everybody what I'm doing yet, but I thought I'd share some of our food prep that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of you don't get to see what happens, and part of the preparation, certainly for this, is planning for food. So this year's trip, at the outset, I've got figured for 20 plus days. I'm going to say 21. I always pack a couple of spare days in there in terms of food. And last year, if you followed along, what you ended up seeing was that we ran out of energy pretty hardcore. On the Madahay Trail, our issue last year certainly was a weight issue. We could only take so much with us, and so what I factored for in that case was 2,000 calories per day, hoping to supplement that with stuff that we actually got on the trail, birds. But that didn't work out so hot for us. Reason being is 2,000 calories a day is probably the bare minimum. I'm a guy who weighs 185 sometimes, and my burn rate's a little higher than that. I knew that we'd be at a calorie deficit for the bulk of that trip, but that calorie deficit, what we learned last year, adds up. So over the course of that trip, what you end up seeing is I just get more and more burned. So this year we're planning a little bit different. Obviously the trip's going to be a lot different. It's not a bike trip this year. I'm not going to reveal just yet what the trip is or where it is, but I will say that we're planning for about 3,000 calories a day, and that's how I figure our food for the length of the trip. So basically I back in from a calorie point of view. So at 3,000 calories a day, I need to get there somehow at that line, and I also need to make sure that I'm as weight efficient as possible. So I need the highest calorie count per weight that I can get. Now, I could just go and eat nothing but candy, right? Because that's probably your best bet for the highest calorie rate. It's probably also the best way to get absolutely strung out on sugar and caffeine and everything else. So candy's probably not the best option, although if I were just going strictly on calorie, it certainly is helpful. So I try and do also a balancing act here with the amount of gear I have to take. So I take cook gear, but it's minimal cook gear. So I do have a pocket rocket, and I'll have fuel canisters for that. And that's basically my only way of cooking, but I also can't cook every meal, and I certainly can't heat my water. So I'll have water filtration to handle the water portion of this, and then I'll do one cooked meal a day, generally the dinner meal, although sometimes I get up at breakfast and then I switch things around and I'll do my dinner for breakfast and vice versa, just because it gets monotonous. If you're one who is concerned with variety when you're doing these kind of trips, or concerned with what you're eating, then it's probably not going to be for you. Because I'm going to tell you that you're going to get burned out. One of the best high-calorie foods that you can get in terms of trail per weight of it is actually trail mix. And you see here, I have got portions upon portions upon portions of trail mix. Nuts are pretty much the best source of calories that you're going to be able to find for trips. There are some exceptions. Some of the bars, power bars or even Cliff bars, have high calorie, but I can tell you from last year and having to try and slug down 4 Cliff bars in a day, it just gets intolerable for me. Even actually with the amount of trail mix that I'm going to try and hammer in a day in order to account for my calories, that gets a little bit bad too. So let me just go over what my 3,000 calorie a day breakdown is and kind of show you what that looks like, because I've got it all set out here. I'm getting ready to package it right now in my food caches, and I'll kind of show you that too. But let me show you what my daily is going to be, and then you kind of get the idea. So every day, like I said, I have at least one. I'll start at the beginning, breakfast. So breakfast, I could carry oatmeal, which isn't bad calorie-wise, but not the best. And it also would force me to have another portion of cooked meal, which I don't know that I can necessarily afford over the course of a 20-day trip with just a burner. I don't want to run out of fuel and limit my ability to actually cook additional meals. So what I'm going to be doing for breakfast are these Kind bars. Yep, it's every day. For 20 days straight, I'll be doing Kind bars for breakfast. In order to get my calorie count, so they're 220 calories per 2-bar serving, and I need to get 420 calories out of it. So I've got 2 different flavors here. I'm just going with the honey oat and the blueberry. So for one day starting off at breakfast, I'll be eating 2 packages of those. That accounts for 440 calories. That's not bad to start with. So that's the first portion of the day. Of course, I'll have to break those out into my caches. I've got them in big boxes, but what I'll end up doing is separating all this out and getting rid of all the unnecessary packaging. So that's the first thing. Then throughout the day, so lunch, you go, well, I don't really stop for lunch, okay? But I do need to continue to consume calories throughout the day because there's going to be a calorie burn. So that's where I bring in my trail mix. I've got 4 different kinds of trail mix. And yes, you could break these out yourself and just get a bulk. And then what I did last year is I just got a bulk of a big canister of trail mix or a big canister of nuts, and I broke out my own trail mix. But this year I want these packages to be waterproof, and also it just is a little bit easier to go ahead and go, these are 6-ounce packages. So a 6-ounce package of this, and I have to eat 12 ounces of trail mix in a day. So for lunch or midday snack will be 2 packages, 2 6-ounce packages of trail mix that account for, I think, somewhere in the ballpark of, let me see, so there's 5 servings, 550. This ends up being like 1,400 calories, depending on which version you get, for 12 ounces of trail mix. So that's a massive portion of my calories and will certainly help out. And again, I'll break those out. Then of course we've got the dinner meal. Those are, I'm generally going Mountain House. I call it roulette, so the Mountain Houses, these are, it depends on which one you get. They say they're 2 servings, I believe. No, they aren't. Not when you're hungry. So one of these is 560 calories. It's 440 to 560, so that gets another substantial chunk, and that's my 1 cooked meal a day. Of course, I hope to supplement that with birds along the way. And then finally, the last piece of the diet equation is candy, chocolate bars. Certainly, I've got a mix here. And what I'm going to end up doing is I have to eat 2 of these a day. You can split these up, obviously. This accounts for about 500 calories. So one of these bars is 250. You can go with the king size bars, which the M&Ms are king size. You only get 1 of those. If you're doing this, that's 480 calories. But that's the breakdown of calories. Certainly, probably, you might be going, where's the vegetables? There's no room for vegetables in this particular scenario. Healthy eating, it's relative at this point. Calories are more important, and I can't afford the weight of vegetables which have very little calories. So this is all about the weight. I'll know what my total weight is very soon. Of course, the other things that are going to end up going in the cache, you guys saw these last year, dude wipes, the shower wipes. Those are multifunctional, obviously. You use the wipe and then you save that wipe, and it can be used for other things. So the dude wipes are going to be in each cache as well. I'll have one of those with me, and then I'll also have fire starter. I will be able to use fire to supplement my burner. So I'll have fire starters packed in each cache as well. And I'll take this right out of the gun. So instead of having individual packages of coffee, I'm just going with the instant coffee. It's one luxury that I'll actually allow myself. So generally, most mornings I'll at least start off with 1 cup of coffee. It takes my burner about 1.5 minutes to boil water. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then the other thing I'm taking with me, one thing, pro tip here, you can filter all the water you want, but I can tell you that when you filter water, it doesn't filter for taste. So I've been lots of places where I'm filtering water and I know that it becomes safe to drink, but it doesn't necessarily taste any better than the mud puddle it came out of. So powderized drinks don't weigh much at all. I'm going with the Gatorade Zeros, 3 different flavors. So yeah, I'm going to go with these this year. And they don't have any calories. I could have got the calorie version, they just didn't happen to have them at the store I was shopping at, so we went with the G Zeros. I generally don't like to throw a ton of sugar in there because it's a killer. It can tend to make you feel bad, but That's why I try and mix it up with some of the less sugary things. And obviously these dehydrated meals have just a ton of salt in them. So you get that for sure. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up what will be in each cache, and that's kind of how I got there. It gets me over that 3,000 calorie a day limit that I'm trying to reach. And then again, hopefully we'll supplement some of that. And then of course I've got a factor for the dogs. Just so you know, each cache will also have the dog food in it. This is 7 days of dog food for one dog. I don't know yet the weight on this. I'll get all those weights here soon, but that's one other thing I had to factor. So we'll end up breaking these out now into individual caches. I'm going to plan on just going with a total of 2 caches and then carrying the first some, and each will be 7 days total, which will give me, and I generally pack an additional day worth of food just in case I don't reach the cache when I expect to. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. What I end up doing is, and I'll kind of show you what the caches end up looking like. So don't pick up my caches if you happen to know where I'm going. I generally, what I'll end up doing is I'll break these out into 3 equal portions of 7 days, and then I will wrap them with shipping wrap. Essentially what I'm doing is trying to make sure that when I drop one of these caches that there's not much smell coming off of that, so I'll wrap this with shipping wrap. It'll just be essentially sealed up as much as I can, and then I stuff that into an individual bag that's waterproof. And after I get it waterproofed, then I will also tape the top with duct tape so that nothing gets in there, and I'll also label it so that if somebody actually stumbles upon my cache, they know that I'm coming for this, and I'll put the date on it. So I'll say, I'm here by, please do not take. So it's one of the nerve-wracking things about being out there when you are doing these big overland trips and you have these food caches, is when you show up at the next cache, you're generally pretty hungry and running low on supplies. So that's always one of the nerve-wracking parts of this, is when I show up there and I'm praying that the food cache is still there. Last year we didn't have any problem doing it this way, and so I suspect that we won't have much problem this year as well, but something you certainly can't account for. And if that were to happen, then I have to go to some contingency plans, which I generally have in my head. But anyways, that gives you an idea of what our breakdown is. Stay tuned. Season 3 of Way Upland, we're going to do some live broadcasts as long as we've got signal, so you're going to be able to see some of that stuff, hopefully live. And within the next little bit, you'll know where that season's going to take place. So there you go. I'm going to get this packing done, and maybe I'll show you that here in a second. So there we go. There's how they wrap up. Just a quick look at that. Go in the next bag, of course, the waterproof bag next, but that's 7 days of food for me and the dogs, plus the ancillary stuff. Okay. Here I just went and weighed it, just set it on the scale, but here's what the final product will look like. Of course, I'll still twist and tape the top here with duct tape, and put my note on it up here with my date, so that it's all sealed up. But yeah, weighs in at 17.5 pounds, so not light, but should still work. There you go. That's food caching for the Overland, Way Upland. Make sure you follow us, and be sure to follow along. Subscribe. Thanks.